Over the past 8 years, I've had a major goal to work for myself, and it was about 3 years ago. I had a big shift, or more of a had a moment where I just sat down. And it's 'cause I was always just running about trying to make things happen. And I just sat down. It's what do I want? What do I actually want? It's okay, I just want to be have fun, have a laugh.
Before you go further, can you hold your place? Because we just want to set something into a clear place. It wasn't 8 years ago that you started, but that's okay. But as you are exploring the contrast of life, you've been launching these rockets into your vibrational reality for longer than you know. And those desires have one by one become cooperative components with the other desires. In other words, there's been a consideration of each desire to the others, and there's become a cooperative component after cooperative component until there has been a becoming of you that's been happening for longer than 8 years ago and longer than 3 years ago. In other words, you've been in the process of becoming, and it's all been so good. But at the point that you begin to reflect on your becoming, and you begin to be more deliberate about what you say and what you think and what you do, what's really happening then is that you are taking those step 3 steps where you're beginning to let more of what you've already asked for in. And this is an important distinction, because we want you to know that you have enough in your vortex to keep you busy for 20 or 30 lifetimes, and that you are now refining it. But mostly what you are about now is finding a way to more and more be in harmony with the sum total of what you've put there. Does that make sense to you? You don't have to keep figuring it out. Life has caused you to already figure it out. Now, what you want to do is feel your way through thinking of thoughts to what you've already figured out, which mostly means catch yourself in your off moments. Catch yourself in your unsatisfied moments and turn those into more satisfied moments. That's the key to letting what's in that vortex come into full manifestation, where you can witness its becoming. The joy of life is not for everything to come out of your vortex all of a sudden and be a manifestation. The joy of life is for you to get to witness it coming piece by piece in satisfying increments into your experience. You couldn't even comprehend the magnitude of it if it all came at once. You would be dazed and overwhelmed, and you would think that someone else had done it. There would be little satisfaction in that. It's that big, it's that magnificent. But when you let it come, which is the only way it can only come out where you can recognize it and see it when you are vibrationally ready for it. So it's the readiness that we want to talk about, not the further creation of it. You've created it. Now let yourself be ready for it by being happier more. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So when I had that moment, it was just kind of I let go of everything, okay, accept my job. But I just stopped doing what I was doing and just thought, okay, I'm just going to go and just focus on.
It's not so much about what you're doing, it's about how you feel while you're doing it. So once you isolate what the feeling of satisfaction is, then you'll begin to notice everything that you're doing and how satisfied or not satisfying it is. Let that be your criteria. Because most humans are using all kinds of other criteria to evaluate how well they're doing. But if you can, just for a little while, we're talking about just a little while because there's so much ready to pop for you. If just for a little while you can just let feeling satisfied be the only thing that is important to you, then you'll start getting what we're talking about, as realization after realization will just pile in. There will be moments in time where there will be such a convergence of so many things that you care about happening all in the same moment that you will feel like the most blessed, most understood being in the entire universe. That's how it feels, especially when you've done the kind of creating that you've done through the sifting and sorting of life that you've lived. It's been big. You can feel it, can't you?
Well, yeah, it's from that moment, things just went a bit, I found, timing, everything just all happened at perfect time. And then
You know what timing is? Timing is You being tuned in and your inner being knowing exactly where to put you and when, and you being so tuned in that you follow the impulse and meet the mark. That's what timing is. All the other cooperative components are already lined up for you. You just got to show up. And there are so many people missing that timing because they can smell smoke in the hallway. We're not picking on you, we get it. Because there's some irritant that is keeping you from being there.
Yeah, so I quit my job and I work for myself like since the start of last year.
How is that?
It's awesome. It's just me, my thoughts, and last year it's just I've been focusing more on like how I feel as well.
Working out pretty good for you?
Yeah. Well, well, it's like this goal for myself.
Why did you quit your job?
Because I was feeling more like what I'm doing now is like I felt pulled, like we were talking about getting inspired action.
So it wasn't so much that you stopped doing something as that you started doing something else.
Yeah, I started doing something while I was working and I felt a pull more to that. And
that's really good reason to move in that direction. So different words are in order. Rather than saying I quit my job, say I evolved past it.
Okay, I like that.
I've been inspired to more than it offered and have found it. Feel the difference? Because when you say I quit my job, it's like I liked this more but I didn't like this. Well, just clean that up by acknowledging why you went where you went. And so?
That's been a big focus of mine to work myself, and now I've done that and I'm like, now what? And
well, you got to trust what's in the vortex because there's plenty there for a now what. But if you're not finding the now what, then there's something going on in your vibration. That's why we really want you to hear this. It'll be so easy for you to get this, is that if you still have that feeling of now what should I do now, what's next for me, then that's an indicator that you're hanging around without even knowing it in some unsatisfying thoughts and feelings because they feel familiar so they don't feel that off to you. But once you begin really isolating, identifying first, and then isolating what feelings of satisfaction feel like so that you're holding yourself more steadily there, then what happens is the now what occurs to you. The next logical step just occurs to you and nothing could keep you from it, sort of in the way that you felt earlier when you decided to go. That feeling will continue for you, you see.
That's the feeling I'm looking for. It's like
you're not stalled out, but hear those words. It's what I'm looking for, which means it's what I'm asking. But asking is a different vibration because when you're asking, you're almost always in a place of not having what you're asking for. Can you feel that subtle but really important distinction? You just bring resistance with that question. So you've asked that question enough that you've really created something supersonic. Now, stop asking what, where, when, who. Just think about how good it feels and what satisfaction feels like. Really, it will smooth things out and the next idea will come and then the next and then the next. You see, here's what we would like you to feel. This is a good way to sum up this conversation today. Let's say that you are in an environment like you are in this environment where there are many places that you could find food today. Lots of different choices. And you pick a particular place. Maybe you're in the dining room. Maybe you're in one of the specialty restaurants. Maybe you're up top with all of that variety of that magnificent buffet. And you have found something that you really like and you are enjoying it. Under those conditions, you would not find yourself wishing that you were in all the other restaurants because satisfaction is satisfaction. And so we want you to receive from us that you don't have to do the identifying anymore. You did it. And you don't have to do the figuring out anymore because you did it incrementally and the cooperative components have figured it out one with another and your inner being knows every bit of all of it and is giving it to you in the proportion that you are ready to receive it. So if you can just for a little while focus upon how satisfied you are right where you are I get to follow my own bliss, and I get to do pretty much what I want, and thoughts flow easily with me, and I'm not contained by anything, and I have the mobility to do what I want, and I know that it's getting bigger and better, and I can feel the fullness of who I am, and I like those moments of clarity, and I like those feelings of satisfaction, and I also like knowing when I'm not satisfied, and I like being able to contour my thoughts in order to bring myself back to satisfaction. I like feeling my ability to hold myself in the vibrational proximity of who I am. I like the knowledge that my inner being is aware of me, and I like knowing that my inner being is in on this with me. And I like knowing that the cooperative components have already been gathered, and I like knowing that I will know them when I see them. And I like knowing that I'm in the perfect position to let them flow in. And I like knowing that I don't have to figure it out all at once. I like this feeling of ease and flow and satisfaction that I'm feeling right now. And I like understanding the inevitability of that. I like knowing that I'm the creator of my own reality and that I can be or do or have anything that I want. And I don't want to know it all at once. I don't want to create it all at once. I just want enough moment to moment to be satisfied as I am now, as I am now, as I am now. And then, oh, one thing after another, until people are looking at you, they cannot figure out what in the world you've done, what magical world have you stepped into, because you can barely speak about it before it comes into your experience. Most cannot even comprehend the satisfaction that is on your doorstep, but you'll be able to comprehend it. You'll know it even before it manifests. You're sniffing it out by the way it feels. We've enjoyed this interaction immensely. There is great love here for you. So, we're eager to talk with you about anything that is important to you. We see our greatest advantage to you, first of all, to choose those of you who are in the vicinity of the vortex so that we'll have an easy ride in together. In other words, if you are in the vicinity, small conversation puts you right in, and then solutions begin to show up. Things as simple as looking for something that you've been looking for a while, finding the perfect employment, finding the perfect mate. In other words, we want you to understand that all of those things are already queued up for you in your vortex of creation. They're already there. And when you get in and hang around, and when you get in and hang around, and when you get in and hang around, and you allow the vortex to tune your frequency up, 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 so that it becomes a vibrational match to the things you want. Do you get it? That a question and an answer are very different frequencies. A problem and a solution are very different frequencies. And do you know the whole time that you've been chewing on a problem or poking around in questions, as that problem has been coming into focus, a solution has been coming into focus too. Every day you hated your work, a better job's been coming into focus. Every day you've been struggling in a relationship, a better relationship has been coming into focus. And so as you allow yourself more time in the vortex, what begins to happen is things begin to occur to you. And often it's happening to you, to all of you, to some degree. You say, oh, what a lucky thing that was. And we want you now to understand it wasn't a lucky thing, it was a vortex thing. It was a vibrational tuning thing. If you've been listening to us for a while, you've been hearing us talk about the cooperative components are all assembled in the vortex. And what we want you to realize is you've got to be a cooperative component too to be in there, which means you can't be railing against unwanted things. So when you find yourself in the vortex and you are able to allow the vortex to tune the frequency of you, it will, because it's dominant. When you're in there, your frequency is coming up, 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 up. As you hang around in this vortex longer, what begins to happen is your path begins to light up. You become a cooperative component, and now you have more view of the cooperative components that got there before you do. So the first thing that will happen when you enter the vortex is that you'll feel better. The next thing that will happen is that you will begin to receive, or ideas will begin to occur to you that feel spot on. In other words, ideas that you haven't had before that when you act on them will pay off. The next thing that will begin to happen is you'll begin to rendezvous with trails or paths that will pay off for you. In other words, you'll begin to meet people that have information that is of value to you. You'll begin to rendezvous with articles, and you'll find yourself online not even knowing how you got to a certain thing, but there you are. The vortex helped you click right through to what you were looking for in a pattern that was illogical unless you understand the vortex. You'll begin to Find people walking into your experience, saying the right thing at the right time, not necessarily delivering the answer to your feet, but giving you the peace that you were ready for in this moment, you see. Through the crack of least resistance, the vortex is always working for you. Even when you're not in the vortex, through the crack of least resistance, the vortex is always working for you. So, we're eager to talk with you about anything that's important to you. Nothing is off limits. What do you want to talk about? Some things. Start right here on the aisle. Yes.